All right, today we're diving into a pretty wild perspective on the modern dating market. Forget everything you know about swiping right. According to our source material for this explainer, you're actually taking a high-stakes pass or fail exam. And the craziest part, you probably didn't even know you were being graded. So let's grab the study guide and see what's on this test.
And we're starting off strong. The source claims that men are basically sorting women into two neat little piles: decent quality or lost cause. Yep, that's it. No in between. So this whole dating thing isn't really a search for a soulmate. It's more like a final exam to prove you're not in the lost cause bin.
So let's get this straight. The central idea here is that dating has become a test. It's an evaluation to prove your worth, specifically to prove you're not what the source calls a lost cause. So, how did we get here? Let's follow the logic. Okay, so the argument starts with data. The source points to a survey where 55% of single women say they're happy. But then it claims that after they get married, that number just tanks, dropping to 22%. Now, the source's takeaway from this isn't what you'd think. The conclusion is that the initial 55% were, and I'm quoting here, delusional. Pretty spicy way to start an argument.
So, if relationships aren't about love and romance, what are they about? Well, according to this framework, it's all about a trade. We're told to think about relationships less like a fairy tale and more like a mutual benefit alliance. Think of it like a business partnership, but with more laundry.
And here's the official definition. A mutual benefit alliance is basically a practical team-up. The idea is that a man and a woman together can do a better job at surviving and being happy than they could alone. It's a very transactional way of looking at I do. So, like any good business deal, you've got to know the terms. Here's what's on the table. The man's offer includes resources, protection, leadership, something called emotional containment, and masculinity. In exchange, the woman's offer is to be a feminine companion, a sexual partner, and a mother. The source presents this as the fundamental contract.
Okay, now for the main event. Let's get into the actual test questions. These are the essentials, designed to figure out if a woman really understands the terms of this alliance. Hope you studied.
First question is all about the money. Well, resources, technically. The test asks, do you see a man's resources as a useful, valuable part of the partnership, or is that an outdated idea? And according to the source, this is how you fail the question. The idea that men have become luxury items, nice to have, but not necessary. Or even worse, the belief that partnering with a man is actually a sign of weakness. That's a big red F on the test. So what's the correct answer? It's just common sense, apparently. A smart woman gets that two incomes are way better than one. It's not about being dependent, it's about being practical and wanting a better quality of life. To pass this question, you just have to be good at basic math. All right, moving on from your wallet to your personal safety. Question number 2 is about protection. The test wants to know if you acknowledge a need for male protection. Now, this is a quote the source uses to show the failing mindset, and it's a memorable one. The argument isn't that women don't need protection, it's that they just need the right tools, and that men are hoarding them all. I mean, it's a unique take, you gotta give it that. The source's rebuttal to this is all about irony. The argument is that the very world where women feel safe enough to say they don't need a man, the society with laws and infrastructure, was mostly built by men. It's like, and this is a quote, floating on a life raft that a man built and then looking at the man saying, I never needed you. And for our final essay question, we have a very interesting term, emotional containment. The question here is, do you see value in a man's ability to be emotionally stable, to contain emotions? So what's the wrong answer? Apparently, it's believing that all of your emotions are perfect and that you should just, quote, surrender to the chaos within. According to this test, letting your emotions run wild is a one-way ticket to a failing grade. And the way to pass? Well, it's a bit of a twist. The source says a high-quality woman is actually a little bit afraid of her own emotional chaos. And because of that, she values a man who can be a grounding force, someone who can keep things stable when she can't. Okay, pencils down, the test is over. So, how are the papers graded? What's the difference between passing this thing and failing miserably? Getting a passing grade comes down to 3 steps. Step 1, you have to admit that your life as a single person has a small spectrum.
Step 2, you need to appreciate what a man brings to the table from a purely selfish point of view. And finally, step 3, you must conclude that you are not, in fact, complete all by yourself. And if you want to know the fastest way to fail, it's right here. If you believe you're already a whole, complete person and that you have nothing to gain from a partnership with a man, well, sorry, you failed the test. In this world, self-sufficiency is the ultimate deal breaker.
But hold on, just when you think you're done, there's a plot twist. The source says there's one last hidden question on the test, a kind of bonus round that's absolutely essential, but that most people don't even see coming.
So this final thing is something the source calls 100% essential. It's something men offer that women desperately need, but supposedly most women today don't even realize it's missing from their lives. Talk about a cliffhanger. And that secret, essential ingredient is discipline and accountability. The source reveals this is the final piece of the trade. And then it just leaves us hanging with this one last, pretty loaded question. For a high-quality woman, what exactly does she need to be held accountable for? And on that note, the test concludes.